Hey, thanks again for joining us here on the Gill Athletics Connections podcast. Please help me welcome today's guest. Super excited for this, Mr. Paul Merca. Paul, how are you, sir?
Oh, Mike, I'm doing great. I've heard a lot of good things about your podcast, and I'm happy to be part of this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love hearing the feedback. In fact, I got an email just this morning from actually a former guest, but they were talking about one of our current guests and just how relatable they were to that guest and how it really helped them to think about things differently on their daily basis. I tell you, that kind of feedback just it makes my day. I mean, this is the whole reason to do this. It was, connections was to connect people together. So I love hearing that, man. I love that you've been hearing good things. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see Paul's background. That's not a live picture, I hope, right? That's one of our static pictures you got there behind you.
Yeah. I have a green screen behind me.
Perfect, man. I gotta get leveled up. I gotta get one of those. In Paul's background here, he has the beautiful skyline, I guess you'd call it, of Seattle. And I've had the chance to go to Seattle a couple times, and I love that place. You are, my man, Seattle, Washington. You are through and through. You're Mr. Washington, as far as I'm concerned. You know everything about the state of Washington and love it.
Thank you. Although I will caution you. I'll say it with a caveat. My expertise as far as the track and field portion of the state of Washington goes is quite honestly at the collegiate and the professional level. It's like I know there's a lot of guys here in the state that would do a better job than I ever could in covering the state's high school track and field scene. And even though I once did coach in the at the high school level, I've been quite honestly out of the high school track and field scene since 2009.
Now you say that, but one of the things I love about the blog, just your whole journalism side of what you do is I've seen kids that were really good in the state of Washington that went somewhere else for college. In fact, I'm thinking that one specifically, the triple jumper that went to Kansas, Andrea. Yeah, Andrea. Yeah. I knew her coach a little bit when she was there, Wayne Pate, who worked with her. And, so she came from high school and went to another college. And you still, what I really love about what you do, I'm really big into niches, right? And so like the sport of track and field is a niche, but the sport of track and field is still huge, especially when you're involved in it. So you have done you've got a niche inside of a niche inside this Washington part of track and field. And I love that because you get to see and hear about kids and athletes that you wouldn't necessarily hear. They'd get lost in the global track and field news, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I'll be honest. I've had my share of misses. I think all the way back to 2008, which was the second year of paulmerca.blogspot.com. It's like I was starting to do my preview of athletes from the state of Washington who were competing at the Olympic trials. And, I get a note from, I'm sure you know him, Martin Bingesser.
Oh, yeah.
The former UW hammer thrower who's got an amazing website devoted to the throws. And, he drops me, a private note saying, you missed Kara Patterson from Purdue. And I'm going, who? And then, so I look her, I just do a quick search. I go on the Purdue website and lo and behold, she's from Vancouver, Washington, a couple hours south of here, and she's one of the top javelin throwers in the country. And so I start paying attention, and lo and behold, she makes the team her junior year at Purdue.
And I guess you can't know everybody, Paul.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
to Miss Kara, that's one of my favorite people. I've known Kara actually since she was here in college. She came to here. We're in Champaign, Illinois, and we had Big Tens here one year, so we got to see her throw. And married to another great thrower, Russ Winger, just another great guy that's out there. So that's funny that, of course, of all people, you miss one of the sweetest, badasses athletes there are.
Yeah. Kara was actually during this pandemic year, she was one of the first people I interviewed. I did a couple of segments. Kara was on it. We did a segment with the week of the that was supposed to have been the UW-WSU duel. We had a panel of about 5 UW alums, 5 WSU alums, including Bernard Legatt and Aretha Thurmond. And we just had a grand old time. I know those guys talked about what it was like the day before or right after the meet, when you would what that bus ride was like from Seattle to Pullman or vice versa. That we had a lot of fun talking about that. I did another segment with two of the top track and field announcers in the country, and Dennis McNulty out of Indiana, and Mike J. We talked. We talked about some of the preparations we go through when we're announcing a track meet. All the research that goes into it, because a lot of times the folks that are out there sitting in the stands, they want to know a little bit about what it is they're watching.
I was blown away by that. So I thought announcing was much more on the fly. Like you kind of had a roster of who was in the races, and maybe they had their PRs and seasonal best. And then one of the first times it kind of opened up to me was when I was talking to Blake Bolden. He's the director of Drake Relays, and he had been helping I think he was helping Larry Ralston on some TV stuff for the NCAAs. And he was talking about just the amount of study, obviously, we're a stats driven sport, but those kind of things. And then recently this season, we had Gary Hill on the podcast back on episode 95, and another, great announcer, as well as, managing editor there at Track and Field News. And he talked about the study that you have to do. I mean, it's like a LCAT, MCAT, SAT preparation for the meet, and each meet's different.
Yep, absolutely. I think, I know we're kind of jumping around, but I would say for a typical University of Washington Invitational, folks out there should know that I'm one of the announcers for the University of Washington at their meets at the Dempsey, which is it's turning out to be a mecca for track and field, both at the especially at the collegiate level, but a lot of professionals do show up there. And it takes me roughly about 10, maybe 12 hours. I mean, it's like,
Wow.
yeah, from the time I get the lists, because I get tipped off on who's running and who's not, early in the week. But that doesn't mean anything until you actually have the final entries. Now, it's like if folks have run there before, I can take notes from previous meets and just plug them in. But if somebody new, somebody all of a sudden got hot a couple weeks before, and I don't know anything about them, I'm going to have to look it up. Now, it's like I went, the 10 or 12 hours or whatever that I prepare. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do. Rarely will I do it all at once. It's because it's almost impossible.
Right, for sure.
Like say if I know for sure that so and so and so and so are running, on Monday before the entries are due, I'll scribble, a note or two. It's like and the thing is, like when you're doing the introductions of athletes in a race, you got to be quick. You're probably not going to use all of it.
Right.
So like say, a couple of years ago we had, Yomif Kajelcha and Sifan Hassan. I mean, like if I were to give them their resume, we'd be 5 minutes in the race. So, you just got to hit two, maybe three highlights,
right?
On each, and then move on, because it's like in the 3,000 or in the 3,000 meter race, you got about your field is probably going to be about 15 to 20 people. So, and you're not going to hit anybody, but like say if it's like the elite section, you try to go through it. Now, like if it's a like if it's a heat 3 of 5, for example, in the 3,000, what I'll do is, I'll just say, hey, we'll give you the names of the athletes in the field after the gun starts,
right.
And then I may direct them to the video board. The start list is up on the video board, and once this race gets started, we'll give you a little bit about some of the folks in the field and move on.
So and obviously you're right, Dempsey has had some amazing races, and you've done other announcing at other events. In the time that you've done this, is there a race that stands out, whether it was you just got caught up in the emotion of what was happening, or a breakout star happened? What's like your most memorable race call?
It's boy, that's a tough one. I think back to when I first started announcing, and to give you a little bit of context, I got into this completely by accident.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's like I was the Dempsey opened, I believe, in 2002, and one of the first indoor meets they had there. I was still in the latter stages of being a track club coach. I was the team manager, the founder of Club Ballard, which started out in the mid '80s as a high school elite club, and then it gradually ended up being a national, having both high school elites and post collegians. And one fun fact was that in 1994 or 93, 94, we had 4 guys who'd in the triple jump had gone 1680 or further.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we had Joseph Taiwo, who was a 2-time Olympian for Nigeria. He was living up here, and then we had Mike Harris from Cal, who was a former Pac-10 champion, who was going to law school at UW. And then we had Marzuka Al-Yoha, who was a 1992 Olympian. I can't, and for the life of me, I'm blanking out on what country he was from, but and he was going to school at I believe at Yakima Valley, because I think he'd met a girl, and he came over and studied for a couple of years. But
how did that lead to announcing?
I had him, like I said, we had our first, one of the first meets that they had at the Dempsey. I go up and up to the Crow's Nest up at the Dempsey, partly to watch my athlete who's running in the 60, and I'm just chatting along with the sports information guy at the UW at the time, Brian Beakey. And meanwhile, one of the UW assistant coaches was doing the announcing.
Huh.
And I'm, thinking to myself, while I'm, trying to watch my guy up in the Crow's Nest running the 60, is why is this assistant coach announcing when he should be downstairs helping coach?
Absolutely.
And I'm going, and then I didn't think too much of it, but it's like later on in the meet, the SID goes, "You want to give it a shot?" Okay, sure. I could probably fake my way through it. Although, I will say this: I've hung around announcers before, because I don't know if you remember in the late '90s and up until about 2002, 2003. Do you remember the Adidas Oregon Track Classic that was held in Portland at Lewis and Clark College?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The late Paul Banta was the meet director, and for a while that meet was part of USATF's Grand Prix series. And it was on TV on CBS a couple of times. So I I got to help out on that meet, partly because Mike Scott, who you probably know through your dealings with the USA Track
Mhm.
and Field, he was basically the assistant meet director to Paul Banta, and Mike at the time was living here before he eventually moved on to Newport, Rhode Island, where he works at the University of Rhode Island. But he got me to help out, and one of the things that he wanted was help write the intros
Mm.
for the races to the for the announcer, because the guy that they used to be the PA announcer before eventually Scott Davis did it was his announcing experience was primarily with Oregon high school meets,
Mm.
and he was like one of the main voices of the Oregon State high school meets, but didn't know much, didn't know much about the pros, and so I basically did his research.
Hmm.
So I wrote we had Maurice Green in there. I
Nice.
think Amy Rudolph ran
Yeah.
in there. It's like a couple, a lot of those folks. In fact, I think Otto Bolden ran in that meet. And so I'd have to write like maybe one or two lines about each of the competitors, especially when it came in to the TV section. So I wrote the intros, did the research for our announcer there, and then way starting back in 1984, I had actually worked as a runner for ABC Sports.
Mm-hmm. Now
And
explain. So we got listeners that are saying, "Oh, he was a runner," but for NBC Sports, explain what you mean by runner, not a physical runner. You're
yeah,
talking about something different.
yeah, you're talking like uh, go make me 25 copies,
Right.
runner. Go run me. Run downstairs and grab me some coffee, type of thing.
We
And
might call that
then
a gopher.
yeah,
Go for
yeah,
this. Go for that.
yep. And then that sort of evolved into for track meets. Most networks usually have at each field event area, they have somebody sitting next to the recorder in a field event. And you're charting the event as just like the official recorder. And after each, say if you're sitting in the long jump, Mike Powell 27:11, and you also read the metric mark. Larry Myricks is coming up to two jumpers after Powell, and then two jumpers after Myricks is Carl Lewis. So you're saying that you're going down the list, but you're giving the graphics guy the marks, and then you're also giving the graphics guy the heads up that one of your key people is coming up. So be ready, in case the producer decides he wants to go live to that event.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Does it also involve the producer or the director so that he or she knows, okay, go back over to long jump because here comes
Yep.
Carl. Now go back
Yep.
over to shot put for someone else and things like that.
Yep. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you worked your way up from gopher to charter / spotter, if you will, to researcher, and then you get on the mic.
Yep. Yeah. It's essentially, and that you actually when you do those jobs, you actually learn what it takes to produce a track meet on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You see the play-by-play announcers do the research. You actually look at their notes. You also look at the notes of the statisticians, and it's like I'll say this right now, that a lot of the notes that I use when I'm announcing a track meet, the format kind of comes from the notes that Walt Murphy gives to the announcers. Because as I got over the years from my working track meets, it's like as I kind of moved up in the ways of spotting, it was like Walt would give me his notes, on certain races. It's the same notes that the TV announcers and the producer, the director, and the graphics guy gets. And it's very short, maybe 3 or 4 lines, and their marks, and maybe a nugget or two that they can plug in if there's some lag time.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's got to be so hard. I mean, it's one thing to produce a show that is going to be in the can to show in a week.
Yeah.
The live aspect has to it's got to be a special crew that can put that on effectively. I mean, anybody can do it, right? But to do it to where like people actually enjoy watching it and receive value from it, that's a skill set. So as someone who has been in this world, I got a question. I don't know if I've ever been able to ask anybody this, and maybe you don't know, but I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
So why do we, when we're showing track meets on TV, we have this habit of as soon as the athlete crosses the finish line and we have our winner, we go right over to them and put the microphone in their face. And whether that winner is the 100-meter dash or the 10,000, they're out of breath. They can't even really cognitively put together a thought because they just did their craft at the highest level, and yet here we are asking them how that felt. Did it go to game plan, etc.? Why do we do that?
I'll be honest with you, I still don't know. And I don't want to I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to put words in the mouths of the the folks who produce the meets on television. But if I had to make an educated guess, it'd probably be immediacy. It's like Joe television viewer wants to know, and he wants to know now. Now we can argue on whether that's right or wrong, but if I had to guess, that would be it.
Take me to another sport where we do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Running back scores a touchdown in football. We
Yeah.
don't immediately go,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and get say, so how'd that feel? That
Yeah.
20-yard run. We
Yeah.
baseball player hits a
I
home
agree.
run, etc. But I always thought, and I'm purely biased because I hold coaches to such a high esteem. I always thought it would be more insightful on the immediacy factor of interviewing the coach right after that race. Like, hey,
Yeah.
how did he or she do? Did they execute to the
Yeah.
game plan? What's next? If you think about, getting back to football, we interview the football coaches more than anybody. Nick Saban
Yeah.
gets up there and he talks
Yeah.
about what he liked and what he didn't like. I always thought that would have been a little bit more finding out the background of what our athletes are doing out there and how they executed and what's coming next for them.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Although, I think, I guess, from a practical standpoint, was it, do we want to have, coaches, all the coaches sitting by,
Sure.
yeah.
Hey, my ideas are good.
Yeah.
They're never practical though. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't deal in practicality.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's just, like, do you, what if, I was just thinking about this, like say if to your point about the, interviewing the coach of the runner, what if it happened if say that coach was coaching two athletes, and the person, the athlete who the TV folks thought would most likely be the winner just sucks and and gets dead last, and conversely, the runner that
Right.
wasn't expected, that would maybe get second or
Right.
third or fourth, wins. And so you got a coach with who's gonna,
maybe we can learn more from like golf or something. Golf,
Yeah.
there's always the handful 5 to 10 that could win whatever
Yeah.
tournament, but then the guy or gal who was 50th ends up winning or placing top 3. It's their breakout tournament or whatnot. Well, Paul, let's take a step back here. So I mean, you're involved in so many things with track and field, and it's amazing. You've seen some of the top events, whether it's in the state of Washington on collegiately or some of the professional ranks. Well, let's learn more about this track background of yours. I mean, you could have done a lot of other sports. You have a huge affinity for the Seattle Seahawks and, of course, the Washington Huskies for football. Where did track begin for you? How did that start?
That started in the mid 70s at Sharpless Junior High School. I started out, just, thinking I could do something in one of the ball sports. When I got to junior high, I eventually had that moment, that that aha moment, that maybe this isn't quite what I thought it would be.
Right.
And at Sharpless, we had during the spring, since we didn't have a team, we had like an intramural segment,
like a field day or something like that, or
Okay. Although it was spread out over like a week or two. So it's like so you get to experience all the events.
Very cool.
Like one day, they would, you'd run the 50, or the next day maybe the 100, and then you'd get, go against, there'd be a 7th grade race, an 8th grade race.
Yeah, very cool.
A 9th grade race. So, I did that, I tried to pole vault and absolutely sucked at it.
You get a lot of respect for that event, huh?
And keep in mind, like we, we we were vaulting with metal poles.
Oh, really?
We in the uh metal poles, and the pit was wood chips and sawdust.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically we were trying to pole vault using 1950s.
So that didn't go well.
Yeah, that didn't go well. Then it's like I kind of had that moment where it's like, man, it's like the longer the distance, I'm actually doing better. I'm going, hey, wait a minute. And so it's I get top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
In like the 440, the 880, the mile, and we had a cross country race which was really about a 1200. It's either 1,000 or 1,200 meter loop around the perimeter
around the school.
Yeah,
we had that.
Yeah.
There was a path all the way around the school because we would just run it over and over. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so after it turned out that the guy that who would eventually be coaching me at Franklin High School, Don Bundy, he was also the science teacher at Sharpless, and so he kind of caught on to me and a couple other kids, and since Sharpless was a 7 through 9th grade school, it's like I could, my 9th grade year, which would have been like my freshman year if had Franklin been 9 through 12. I actually trained at Franklin.
Yeah.
Yes, and then quite frankly, my high school career, I mean, I was decent. I ran 4:42.7 in the mile, ran 10:02.5 in the 2 mile.
Yeah.
But I also ran I ran 20:30 for a road 4 mile, and
man,
it's like, and fun fact, I actually ran in my high school career. I ran the Seattle Marathon twice.
In high school?
In high school.
What?
I mean, I was like, that was coming off the end of the, the Seattle Marathon is usually at the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And it was like, I also ran cross country at Franklin. It's like I would just be out in the league. I was just outside the top 10, in our, in the league, and then just outside the top 20 at districts. But and I never made a state meet in either track or cross country.
Now, that's surprising. Well, I mean, I guess that really speaks to the quality of Washington track, because you put it perfectly. You may not have been a 420 miler, 915, what have you, but 440 and 10 flat that's nothing to sniff at. Those are solid marks, and never made the state meet.
Yep. Never.
Wow, that's
Never.
good on Washington then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
But you would come off of that and run the marathon?
Yep.
What
And
was
you know,
your long runs?
I think I ran.
Not long enough?
No, definitely not long enough. I did, I believe it was my junior year. I did a 20-mile run my junior year.
One.
That was only because we had a fundraiser, for, it was a walkathon, jogathon.
Right, like
So,
dollar per mile type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And our Franklin High School had their jogathon at the Seward Park, which is a 2.5-mile loop. So basically, you stopped after every loop to have your sheet checked off, and then you'd go on.
You kept going.
Yeah. Other than to stop for a minute to get your sheet checked off, and maybe grab water or juice, and then you move on. So running the Seattle Marathon was just coming off the end of cross country. I had no freaking idea what I was doing. My sophomore year, this was back in the days before, advanced registration. I decided the day before the Seattle Marathon, I'd run it.
So you didn't even not even like mental preparation, like, okay, at the end of the season, I'm going to run the marathon. Like, it was just like, yeah, okay, I'll run it tomorrow.
Yeah, basically.
He said, yeah.
And I ran my sophomore year as
how'd it go?
15-year-old, I ran 3:25.
What? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's impressive. How did you feel after the race?
Like I never want to do it again.
But you did.
Yeah.
That says something about you, Paul, and I'm not sure it says anything good.
Yeah. I had no freaking clue. I mean, other than the fact that the race started and finished at Seward Park, which is about 3/4 of a mile from my house.
Okay, so you just crawl back to the house, crawl on your bed, and sleep for days.
Yeah, that's essentially what I did.
So you ran 3:25 the sophomore year, right?
Yep.
And you felt like crap, which, of course, I mean, even if you're trained for it, you got to feel like crap after running a marathon. Come on, it's 26.2 miles. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And you thought, I'm never going to do this again. But next year, did you think, but I know, like, I'm more experienced now. I've done this. Did you like talk yourself into it that junior year?
I talked myself into running the half marathon my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like
much smarter.
I think I ran like about 123 or something.
Wow. Yeah.
Something like that. And then my senior year, I actually, I decided to run the marathon, let's say about, I want to say about a week before.
You seem like such a, we talk about the research and things like that. You seem like a very calculated, write it down, get your ducks in a row. And here you are like a day before, and you gave yourself a whole week this time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if kids, at least the better kids in the 70s, were running 50, 60 miles a week, and a lot of it, by a lot of the stuff in the 60s, like that would be like the Jim Ryan era. So, it's like, that's where a lot of the coaches in the 70s were getting a lot of their having their philosophies shaped, was, like from the stuff that Bob Timmons did
Right.
at East High School and at Kansas with Jim Ryan, which is a lot of interval work, and then like your distance runs were like anywhere, and this is what my coach did, was anywhere from 4 to 10, 12 miles, and it would be at about 6 minute pace or faster.
Mm.
And when I look back at it, man, I'm thinking, man, I gotta be freaking crazy to run those. Like, I here's a great example. My sophomore year, 20 quarters. Like, did it in sets of 5, 90 seconds rest, and then 3 minutes after each set of 5. I averaged under 70 for that. And I'm going, what the hell?
Is that the famous Once a Runner workout? Did you ever read Once a Runner?
No, I never read.
It's actually a great book.
Yeah.
It's from like the Frank Shorter Gainesville Track Club days. And I can't remember, I was not a distance guy, but I love this book. I remember reading it way back in the day. The main workout was this quarter repeat. And I think they did something like, someone can tweet me and let me know how far off I am. It was something like 40 or 50 quarters, just over and over. So it became like the staple high school workout.
Yeah. And like I know that I would never prescribe it to a high school kid. It's like I looking back at it, I'd probably have if I was coaching, I'd probably have some parent calling CPS on me for throwing 20 quarters.
Well, where'd you go to after high school?
Yeah, I like I said, after that I went to the University of Washington.
Of course you did. Of course, I shouldn't even have asked. I should have just assumed. Were you going to Washington? Like, was it a foregone conclusion you're going to Washington, or did you choose Washington?
Not really. I mean, I figured, I thought honestly I would probably go to a community college. And the one community college I was looking at was Highline Community College, which is kind of by the airport. And back in the day, they had a pretty good track and cross country program. But I ended up getting an academic scholarship. So I ended up at the UW, and I walked on. Like, again, not having any idea what I was getting myself into. I figured, what?
You thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it was I thought it was a good idea, and then the year that I walked on, Dixon Farmer was the coach there. He was basically had all the running events, and why he was working under Ken Shannon,
Hmm.
who ended up being the '84 Olympic throws coach
Oh,
for the
wow.
U.S. Yeah, it's Ken Shannon, one of the legendary throws coaches in American history. So I walk on, it's like and we had some great runners on that team, and that team my freshman year ended up qualifying for the NCAA championships for the first time in school history.
All because of you.
No. Oh, hell no. In fact, my freshman year, I was cut from the team.
Oh, no.
I was, Dixon felt sorry enough for me that he made me the team manager.
Well, good. You got to stay involved, though.
Yeah. So
Good.
I was a team manager for the UW track team all 4 years, and then during cross country, after my sophomore year, he actually let me run in a couple of meets.
So track must have been really special to you in the sense of, a lot of kids coming from the same type of athletic background as you did, they go to the big state school, they walk on, they get cut. I mean, this is a story that happens every year at institutions, right? And most of those guys and gals, they fade away. They don't, they go and study their science, their PE degrees, whatever they're doing, right? It seemed like it was important for you that, I still want to be involved. Like I still want to, like I'll manage the track team. I'll still run on the cross country team. That seemed important to you. Where does that come from? Where did that passion for track and field come from?
I wish I knew the answer. I mean,
wow.
It was more like, I was commuting, it's like, I did not live on campus. I lived at home. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so I was commuting from my home in the south end of Seattle to the UW, and it was like, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to fill my hours between 2 and 6?
Was traffic as bad then as it is now? Because that's what you could have done to fill your time. Just traveling from where you were, that's a good hour sometimes in Seattle.
And get this, it's like I didn't have a car at the time, so like I rode the bus.
Oh man, I thought you were about to tell me you ran.
No.
I don't know, man. You crazy marathoners. I figure you just always you guys do that stuff.
Yeah. Although I did do that a couple of times.
I knew it.
I did do that a couple of times.
It.
Yeah. Well, there a couple of times was out of necessity because I don't know if you've been to Seattle when it snows, but no, it seems like nobody knows how to drive in Seattle when it snowed. So there was a couple times where I actually ran from my house to the UW, which is about 10 miles.
Wow.
Or go home because of the snow. And so, I had a like a small backpack with a few things, so I'd run from home to school, to get into Heck Ed, I most of the time I left my school stuff in my track locker, go in there, shower if I needed to use the sauna, do that. go to class wearing UW issue hoodies and sweats and go on like no big deal.
That's awesome. What were you studying there? Were you studying? You end up becoming this, journalism and some other things. Were you a journalism major?
I was actually in the public relations and advertising sequence.
You got a BS
close.
and BS?
Yeah, pretty much.
I got a public relations degree. That's what I got. Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Yeah. And so, like I did, graduated in the summer of 1981. My senior year was, quite frankly, a little crazy because I took an average of 18 credits. 15 was considered full-time.
Mm-hmm.
So I went 18, 19, and 19.
Wow.
My senior year. It was like I went to school summer quarter, and because there was a I think it was partly because that spring the UW had announced they were going to jack up tuition rates starting that fall, and so
motivation.
Yep. So that was my motivation, and then also I guess right after spring quarter of '81, we find out that Dixon Farmer had taken the job as the head track coach at San Diego State. So
Mm-hmm.
that sort of accelerated my wanting to get out of the UW, and it's like we didn't know who was going to be the distance coach at that time, and I might have wanted, I may or may not have wanted to stick around and you use that extra year of eligibility since I was cut my freshman year, but I figured, what, 16 straight years of school
yeah, agreed.
was enough. And so it's like I think my last quarter at the UW, I ended up being a public relations intern at Seafair, which runs the Seafair Summer Festival. That includes the Torchlight Parade, the hydroplane races, and numerous community festivals around the city and the region. So it's like I ended up interning for them my last quarter at the UW. Here I am. I'd watched the Seafair Parade as a kid, and here I am. My big project was being a liaison to a number of the the Model T, the Ford Model T car clubs in the area, because I had to round up 20 Model T cars, and we put say the mayor, the city council member, and then find another car for the grand marshal of the parade, and I think we ended up I think we had one car too many, and so I I ended up riding in the last car, and I'm doing my little parade wave, and I'm looking at the people, and I'm they're wondering, who the hell is this guy?
Right. Yeah. They're waving back. They're like, he must be famous.
Yeah. Okay. And all the while I'm thinking to myself, I got to get to the end of the parade because I had some stuff I needed to do. But I'm just kind of entertaining. I guess I'm entertaining the crowd. While there's a couple bands, marching bands behind me, and a couple floats. So there I did that, and then the other thing I remember about my last quarter at the UW, I took a PE class in soccer. And my last final at the UW was a soccer final where we actually played a game at Husky Stadium.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was like, the class met there a couple times a week, and then we also met in one of the classrooms at Heck Ed, and I just what a good way to end your undergraduate time at the UW by scoring on a bicycle kick.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I didn't plan on it.
I was gonna say, how in the world? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was actually more of a side volley, rather than a bicycle kick. It was like somebody was trying to aim the defender on the other team was trying to aim it at trying to clear the ball, and ended up kicking it right towards me. And so I just reached out, stuck my leg out instinctively, and like a side volley that it went in. I'm going, okay.
That's a good way to do it. I like that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, you talked about, exciting thing, and that's certainly exciting. One of the topics I wanted to talk about specifically with you, and it's fresh it just happened. We talk about Seattle, and we talk about track, and we talk about football. So recently we had the track world is up in arms, and the NFL world is up in arms because we had what appeared to be a world-class speed event that happened. Talk us, because I know you saw this game. There's no way you're missing the game. So talk to us about that and what happened.
Okay, so Seattle Seahawks are driving for an apparent touchdown against the Arizona Cardinals, and so I can't remember the down. I want to say it was second down, but Seattle's at the 3-yard line, and Russell Wilson tries to throw to his right side towards Chris Carson, the running back, who breaks towards the right side of the end zone. Meanwhile, Buda Baker from Arizona intercepts the ball, basically jumps the route, and he's on his way. He's going the other way.
I mean, it's pick six all the way. No one's in his way.
We're looking pick six city. Now, a little historical content on Buda Baker. Buda Baker is from Seattle. He went to the UW, and he went to Bellevue High School, which is across the lake from Seattle,
Is
where
that
he's
right?
he was a state champion in the sprints for Bellevue High School.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
I didn't know that part. I didn't know he was from Seattle. And I didn't know that he had track background.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He was I I'll have to recheck his athletic.net profile, but I believe he was like a 10-7 electronic
Yeah. Legit.
sprinter, which is
Yeah.
legit. And then so anyway, Baker is on his way for an apparent pick six when DK Metcalf of the Seahawks, who was actually if I remember the videotape, he had broken towards the goalpost on the inside while Carson was going to the outside. Metcalf runs him down at about the 8 or 9 yard line.
Yeah, Metcalf was a good 10 plus yards behind
Yes.
Budda Baker. It wasn't like they were right next to each other. He had ground to make up.
Yes. So he tackles him right about the 8 or 9 yard line, and all of a sudden you're seeing Twitterverse blowing up.
Yes.
I think Jack Collinsworth from NBC, who's Chris's son, tweets out DK Metcalf is the fastest man alive.
Oh,
and
no.
Then you have you got the folks who are the big NFL fans are saying, hey, wait a minute, could DK could possibly make the Olympic team? Now, just to give this some intrigue, USA Track and Field tweet something, I believe Monday. Yeah, I believe it was either Monday or Tuesday, saying, essentially saying, it's like, hey, NFL guys, if you want to prove your speed, come out to the Olympic trials.
Right.
And
brilliant move by them, by the way. Great job by them.
Oh yeah. It's like I'm guessing Josh Gurnick from USA-T&F was the guy behind it in their media relations department. But anyway, regardless about who was behind it, DK Metcalf tweets back at them saying, I'll be there.
Yeah, he accepts. Right.
Yeah, I'm going, yeah. And
which, now, you brought up Budda Baker's track background. I believe DK Metcalf was like a 46-foot triple jumper. So no, he's got track background, and no shame on him. You jumped 46. You're legit in high school, in my opinion. You're athletic, absolutely. But the hypocrisy, I guess maybe that's the right word of it, is that he accepted the invitation. It's like, oh yeah, buddy, you gotta qualify first of all. Let's just start there. It ain't no just invitations.
For him to even run at the trials in June, he's somehow got to run 10:05 in the 100 or 20:24 in the 200. I mean, it is. He could possibly get it.
Paul, no. Hold on.
Possibly.
I know he plays for Seahawks, and so he's up here for you. He's not running 10:05.
Yeah,
he's not.
Possibly.
He's not. No, I don't. He couldn't run better than 10:30.
Yeah, is it realistic? No. Even if he did, even if he did, he'd have to get through the rounds.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. I'm going, even if DK runs, somehow, if he,
That's the key. Somehow.
yeah, absolutely. He has, and I got into a long conversation with, two people on this yesterday. One of them was one of your former guests, Lamont Vaughn from Grambling, who is a pretty good track guy back in the day at the University of Texas. And he was an NCAA and a USA champion in the long jump in 1988, and played a number of years in the National Football League.
Yeah, he knows both sides of it, right?
Yeah, and he Eric knows both sides of what it's like to run track and play football.
Did any of those guys think he even has a shot at running 10:05?
I mean, I don't know if it's realistic,
right?
But I mean, he would. I think DK, number one, after the football season is over, and assuming that the Seahawks go deep into the playoffs.
Spoken like a real Seattle guy right there.
Assuming they go deep,
they're going to win the whole thing, Paul. We get it.
He would need a couple weeks of rest and recovery, because when you get into January and February, you're going to be beat up
for sure.
Yeah, and then like he would need a couple weeks, to learn to do the sprint drills. I mean, it's doing the drills that you need, just to get yourself in track shape. I would say he'd probably need to lose some weight.
Yeah.
Because some of the bulk that you
he's so huge, big boy. Yeah.
The bulk that you need for football does not translate to track and field.
Right.
And he would also probably need to get, work with a real good sprint coach, like somebody like a Carroll Smith Gilbert, somebody like a John Smith, like a Mike Holloway, coach at Texas, somebody at that level.
Well, they did that. Didn't they do like an NFL 40-yard dash contest? They did brackets and stuff like that. The guy who won, I can't remember the athlete that won it, but the coach that coached that athlete to win that tournament, that 40-yard dash tournament, was Sammy Dabbs, who is down in the Dallas area, a track coach. I think he used to coach at University of North Texas and some other places and stuff like that. So it can be done to get faster. The absurdity of it is the level, and I know a lot of it's for fun. I know USATF isn't going to give an exemption. This guy can go get his doors blown off in the first round, but the absurdity is DK, great athlete, no one's taking that away from him. He's not even the fastest guy in the league, and I'm not sure anybody in the league could make the finals of the 100 at the trials when we talk about rounds and stuff.
I mean, just like the general sports fan doesn't realize that to get to the finals of the 100 at the Olympic trials, you've got to run, a first round, and then, I looked up the schedule. You run a first round one day, and then the semis the next day, with the finals a couple hours later.
Oh yeah.
And then also another thing is that I saw the stat where DK was clocked at in the mid 22 miles an hour. Well, that translates to roughly a low 10. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a low 10 with a flying start. Now, as my good friend and NBC Sports sprint analyst Otto Bolden says, guys like Asafa Powell, Usain Bolt, they've run like high 8 seconds in the 100 on the anchor leg of a 4x1, which is probably the fairest comparison.
Kind of closest to apples to apples.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now I get the argument that DK Metcalf had on a helmet and
mm-hmm.
pads.
Yeah, and he's on grass.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And but he had a rolling start, and so the
mm-hmm.
closest things that we have in track and field to a rolling start would be the acceleration in the 100 in the 4x1.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's probably the closest thing, and it's like I would say that your top sprinters are going, at the very least, are going to run low 9s with the flying start,
right,
in the 100.
What did Otto say about it?
He thought that it was kind of absurd that people in the sports world think that a guy is going to run that, a guy like DK Metcalf is going to run world class.
Right. I like experience.
Yeah.
And so a guy like Otto, who's done it physically, he's run it, right? He's run at the highest levels, the highest level. He's coached at the highest level. He's got kids that are winning major international meets, right? And I mean, that right there would be enough qualifier for me. But on top of that, he's a world-class analyst. So he's seen how many countless races. He's probably garnered such an eye for things. If he thinks this is absurd, well, that's enough for me. I'm with him. It's absurd. The guy made a great play. He ran super fast. The optics of it looked really good because he came from so far behind, and the other guy thought he was going to score, which, that's exciting and things like that. But it's absurd to think that he is anywhere close to even our probably 100th best 100-meter sprinter in this country. Well, man, Paul, as we wrap up today, I just can't say thank you enough. You and I started getting to know each other. Actually, I think through social media is where we first started, met, and then we've met and talked a few times out in the great Eugene, Oregon for trials and U.S. champs and what have you. So, it was really, for me, as I work to grow the Gill Athletics Connections podcast, my number one is always going to be the coaches that are out there on all levels. I just have such a high esteem for coaches. But another one of my goals is to introduce the track world to guys and gals that are kind of behind the scenes as well. Right. So, we had Stephen Madrid, who runs the Albuquerque Convention Center for the great track there at University of New Mexico. That's a guy that most coaches, they don't realize how important he is for them.
Right.
But never see him. And then, we had Gary Hill, who's done so much amazing things, which interesting. Gary Hill went to Washington State. You went to Washington. We need to have an announcer's Apple Cup. Put you guys together. And then you, Paul, as well, from the blog that you run, the articles that you put out, that you research, the photos you take are just everything put together. And then having actually seen and experienced your work as an announcer at some of the meets that I've been there at University of Washington, the richness that you give the race, you add value to the race and not just the runners themselves. It's that perfect environment. I'm just so thankful that you'd come here and share with us your journey and your real passion for track and running. I love that. It's just so evident with you.
Thank you. I mean, it's like I've considered this this journey to be a complete privilege. It's like I've been fortunate enough to witness all but 3 world outdoor championship meets.
Wow.
I've been fortunate to go, help USA Track and Field at every World Cross Country Championship since 2001. It's like my media involvement with the sport would not have been possible if I hadn't taken a volunteer position in 1984 as the assistant media relations director for the 1984 Olympic marathon trials, which Joni Benoit won in Olympia 2 weeks after having arthroscopic knee surgery. And my experience working in the media relations for the 1984 Olympic trials was basically how I got involved on the television side of track and field. And it's like I also have to thank my junior high photography teacher Ray Jensen for introducing me to photography. And that's working in a dark room using film. That was that experience working with the film and making prints, photos. That's kind of gotten me to being a photojournalist.
Man.
So.
Well, that's so awesome, man. From all of us at Gill Athletics, we just want to say, and really I'll speak for coaches that and athletes that you've enriched their experiences at track meets, whether it's through articles, through announcing, through photojournalism as well. Thank you for all that you do for our great sport. Our great sport is made up of an amalgamation of a lot of great people, and you are certainly one of those. And we're just so thankful for you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Like I said, I'm honored to be on this podcast, Mike. Thank you for thinking of me. And if there are any coaches or media members who are kind of hesitant about the coming on your podcast, I say do it. Go on. Go on.
Awesome.
Get on this.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you very much, man. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you.